It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning. Thank you very much for joining me. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and thank you very much for joining me this morning. This is a show where we talk all things real estate here in Charleston. If you've tuned into my show in the past, I've been on the air for, I think about a year, maybe a little over a year now. And what I do on this show, and my goal for this show, is to provide you with the listener, the consumer, the home buyer, the home seller, the investor, with information that you need to make informed decisions. So I like to give market stats. I like to give trends in the market. I like to share stories with you as an agent that's been in the top 1% of realtors in our market for the past 5 years. And really like to just answer questions. I'm actually live in the studio this morning. So before we get into it, because I have a ton of information to cover, I've got about an inch thick stack of paper that I want to try and get through, and I know I won't because it's just too much information, but I've got a lot of good stuff for you. But before we do that, I am live in the studio, and if you have a question, please give us a call. 843-556-1250 is the phone number here, 556-1250. And I want to tell you what I've done. I've got my computer set up here. I've got the internet pulled up, and I actually have the MLS open. So if you have a property and you want information on statistics in a specific neighborhood, I can pull any stat on the spot as it relates to your interest in a home, an area, a neighborhood, a segment, a price range, a period of time. Doesn't matter. Feel free to give us a call here in the studio, and I'll walk through that with you, and John will take your information down prior to going live. That way your information stays confidential, of course. Again, that number, 556-1250. If you'd like to reach out to me personally outside of this show, the best way to do that is either to call me, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, www.listingsincharleston.com, www.listingsincharleston.com. And on that site, you can take a look at properties that I have currently listed for sale, properties I've sold. You can search the MLS by area, by map, by neighborhood, by price, of course. You can read some testimonials from past clients, and of course, you can click on the Sellers tab and learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission if you're considering selling your home. So let me tell you what I have planned for today. I want to talk with you about the state of the market. It's been a little while since I kind of gave you a holistic kind of macro view of what's going on in our real estate market. So I want to do that first and kind of set the tone for what we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the program. I want to go over, of course, some local stats, give you a few success stories. I want to talk with you about the National Association of Realtors profile of home buyers and sellers for 2013. That's a mouthful. And I've got a lot of cool information that I've printed off on that. And I want to give you just some perspective on where we are, where we've been, and where we're headed. And then lastly, I just got back 2 days ago from a 5-day convention in Phoenix, Arizona for real estate. And it was a very humbling experience, I will say that. I would say that although it's great to be in the top 1% of agents for the past 5 years in this market, and I do well, and my team does well, and we have a very comfortable lifestyle, there are agents that are just dominating real estate in a huge way. There's a guy that was 26 years old that sold a little over 200 houses for $75 million. That's huge. No one in our market comes even close to that. There's a guy in Dallas, Texas, who runs a 30-person team. They sold 1,500 homes for almost $1 billion in volume. So I've picked up some very interesting information from them that I want to pass along to you. So let's kind of jump into this kind of macro approach to what's going on in the real estate market right now. And I want to go back a little bit, and I want to talk about 2013 and, of course, tie in what happened last year and the great news that we had across the board in our real estate market, and then tie that into what's what's going on now. So again, before I get started, if you have specific questions, you want to ask me anything real estate related, again, I've got the MLS pulled up. Give us a call here in the studio, 843-556-1250. So let's first look at, just on an annual basis, let's look nationally at what has happened with pricing over the past several years. In 2013, the median home price was $197,000, and that's nationally, okay? That was up almost 12% from 2012. So that's a great jump, and that's a big jump, and I've been saying for the past 9 months that high of a increase in price is really not a sustainable increase, and here's why. Nationally, over time, historically, we look for about a 4% appreciation rate in real estate. So let's go back to 1989. From 1989 until 2002, we mimicked that 4% increase in pricing, okay, year over year. So that's why, for a lot of people, real estate was kind of a sure thing. Your house grows in price every year. It adjusts for inflation, and every year you're making a little bit more money on your house. Well, what happened? Let's see. In 2003, we went to $179,000 as the median sales price. Then in 2006, we went up to $222,000 in median sales price. So we had this huge jump over a very short amount of time, and then we all know what happened. Our market started to decline. So in 2008, it was $198,000. In 2011, it was $166,000. So from 2011 at $166,000, we're now back up to $197,000. That's obviously a big jump over a 2-year period. But y'all need to understand that if we had just kept that 4% annual appreciation rate, guess where we would be in 2013 for an adjusted median sales price? $241,000. We were at $197,000. So we have room to grow into basic standard appreciation and pricing. And so let's look at why that's important, because we want to tie it into affordability. Affordability really is what matters here. Affordability is, of course, you take your income, you take what you make, you take your expenses, and you determine how affordable it is for you to own your home. So let's look historically. Let's kind of look back. Historically, the percentage of a typical family's income to own real estate was about 22%. So about 22% of your income is going to go to your house payment. In 2012, it was 12.7%. Historically, we've never had a more affordable housing market. So now that we're in 2013's numbers, we were at 14.2% of your total income was going to pay for your real estate. Although, yes, that is a jump, and we're not quite as affordable as we were in 2012, understand that historically we are still way below the norm. A few weeks ago, we talked about affordability, and we looked at, as it relates to you, what would the cost be to own a home versus renting a home? And we went through a few different scenarios, which I'm happy to go through with you if you want to give me a call or discuss your specific situation. And I'm willing to bet 9 times out of 10 that it's more inexpensive to own your home than it is to rent your home. Now, of course, we've got all these issues with flood insurance, and that's a topic for another time. But affordability is, let me put that in perspective for you. And I printed this off, and I think this is fantastic, okay? So to own a car, to buy a new car in 1989, it would have cost you $15,000, whereas in 2013, it would have cost you $31,000, okay? Almost twice. But if you adjusted that car in 2013 for inflation over time, that car in 2013 should have cost you $28,800. So we're about $2,500 above that. Let's look at gas. In 1989, gas was 97 cents a gallon on average. In 2013, it was $3.60 a gallon. If you adjusted that gas for inflation over time from 1989 until now, it would have been $1.82. So again, we're talking about affordability and how incredibly affordable real estate is when you put these kind of things in perspective. Take a loaf of bread. In 1989, it was 67 cents. In 2013, it was $1.40. You adjust that bread over time for inflation, and in 2013, you should have paid $1.26 for it. So why am I telling you all this? Let's kind of take this affordability and put it in perspective in housing, okay? In 1989, the median home price was $94,000. The mortgage rate was 10%. The monthly payment was $825, and the median income was $29,000. If you adjust all that for inflation, that home price of $94,000 adjusted for inflation should be $176,000. The adjusted payment should be $1,500, and the median income should be adjusted to $51,000. So let's take that information and then look at what happened in 2013. The actual median home price, again, was $197,000, but the mortgage rate was 4%. So the adjusted payment on your mortgage over time should be $1,551. It's actually $941. So that's incredibly affordable. So let's, just putting all that stuff into perspective. The median income, by the way, adjusted for inflation, stayed the same. So let's look at inflation. Inflation in 2011 harbored right around 1.25%, and in 2013 it was 1.5%. Historically, it's about 2%. So we're not even at a point yet where we're keeping in line with inflation. So I say all this because I want to then parlay into distress sales. And this is, I want to give you a really big picture here, okay? In 2013, the number of distress sales nationally went from 24% in 2012 to 14% in 2013. So we had this big drop in distress sales, and everybody's asking me, well, Brian, where are those great deals now? I'm seeing less of them. Where are the short sales? Where are the foreclosures? And I talked about this one of my shows prior. And here's basically what's happening. Because we have this rise in pricing, this decrease in inventory, and this increase in sales, more homes are selling, more buyers are jumping off the fence and realizing that there's a good return on their investment. Rents have increased. It's a great environment to buy real estate, still is. And then if you look at the percentage of homeowners that were underwater at the second quarter of 2010, that 25% of homeowners were underwater. The third quarter of 2013, 3 years fast forward, it was 13%. It's almost half. So we're doing well in terms of a correction, but I want to tell you why there aren't as many investment properties. It's because we have Wall Street money that has entered the home ownership market, and in a big way in some markets, hundreds and thousands of homes at a time. So some are exploring our market here in Charleston, and some have bought property in our market. And I know that because I've received contracts on my listings from these institutional investors. So here's what's happening. Institutional investors are putting together billions of dollars, and they are investing in real estate portfolios that are purchasing properties more than one at a time. And what they're doing is they are creating this portfolio, and they're securitizing that portfolio. And for those of you that understand that and are in that arena, they've triple rated these securities, these real estate portfolios. And doesn't that sound familiar to you? I don't know, maybe 2008, mortgage-backed securities, not real estate-backed securities. So naturally, everyone thinks, well, if these investors are purchasing all these properties in large quantities, what would happen if they just sold them all? Well, they're not going to do that because that would destroy their pricing. But what were to happen if they started cutting these portfolios up and started selling them to China and Netherlands and Switzerland and Greece and so on and so forth? And in some of these markets like Phoenix and Chicago, Atlanta, they overseas owns those real estate holdings in a very big way sometimes. So now let me just say that institutional investors have helped this nation's economy overall by becoming investors because they're reducing the inventory. They're taking advantage of the cash flow on these rented properties. They're creating jobs. They're maintaining the properties, so on and so forth. And that all looks great, assuming the cash flow is there to take advantage of. So, I don't want to sound like a Chicken Little because the sky isn't falling. It's far from it. But I think it's important for us to simply remember what got us in the situation we were in with the crash in 2008. And all I'm saying is just educate yourself and formulate your own opinion. We kind of just went through what's going on right now. And, by the way, investor demand has started to really kind of take advantage of the distress sales in Phoenix and Las Vegas, and I'd mentioned Atlanta and Charlotte and so on and so forth. There's these big conglomerates like American Homes for Rent and Colony Capital and American Residential Properties, to name a few. And they're armed with billions of dollars in cash. And so that's why you're seeing a little bit less of a just volume of inventory or volume of distressed property in our market. Here's a really good book for you to read, The Big Short by Michael Lewis. It's a great book that goes into detail on how we kind of got into the mortgage crisis we were in. And just an interesting read. Again, I don't think we're headed in that direction, but there are some telltale signs that we could. And I just wanted to share that with you this morning. So coming up next, I'm going to give you some local stats. So stick with me. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'll be right back.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 8 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on 1250 WTMA, the Big Talker. Thank you for joining me this morning. And for those of you that tuned in right around 8 o'clock, I just went on kind of a long rant, and I'm realizing that, of course, here I'm live in the studio, and I didn't give you much of an opportunity to call in and ask questions. So let me make sure that I make that phone number clear in the event you have any questions. That number is 843-556-1250, and I'm in the studio. I'm going to read off some local market stats next, because we just talked about the national real estate market, what's happened over the past several years, and kind of why we are in the situation we're in, which is a great situation. Don't get me wrong. I kind of talked toward the end there about institutional investors gobbing up huge chunks of real estate. So I want to talk about local stats next, but I do have the MLS pulled up here in the studio. So if you have a specific question about a house, a neighborhood, a price range, what's sold over the past several years, anything you want MLS related, here's your chance. Give me a call, 556-1250, and I'll share that information with you. And of course, we'll collect your contact information prior. That way it's confidential in nature. And again, for those of you that are kind of just tuning in, this show talks about everything real estate related here in the Low Country. I like to take information on national, regional, and local news and stats and trends, and apply that to our specific market, so that when it comes time for you to buy or sell a home, you have the information you need, you have the right frame of mind, the right mindset to take advantage of that information. You've hopefully listened over time and can gain an understanding of what's trending in our market, again, so that you can make an informed real estate decision. And I am a top 1% agent in our market, have been for the past 5 years in a row. So if you're considering buying or selling a home, feel free to reach out to me. My number is 843-345-1273, or go to my website, www.listingsincharleston.com, and you can search the MLS there, read some testimonials from past clients, view my current and sold listings, and if you click on the Sellers tab, you can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. So let's talk about what's gone on January as it relates to just sales in our Tri-County area. And I want to preface this by saying that this data is going to be slightly skewed, and here's why. Very rare is it that we have ice and bad weather in Charleston. And as somebody that was born and raised in Northern Virginia, but that's also lived here for the past 13 years, it's at times a bit comical to see how Charleston reacts to ice on the deck and ice on the road. But hey, I understand why, and it's because that we as a community don't really have the tools to to combat it. We don't have the salt trucks, we don't have the plows, so on and so forth. So December was a kind of a slow month for new contracts. It always is. It's not the month you think of when buying or selling a home. Really, that kind of starts in April, May, June. But it's funny because December has actually always been, for the past 3 years, December's been my best month in sales. So I'm not sure if that's because other agents just aren't working or if it's because buyers and sellers are kind of by nature procrastinators, and they've said they're going to buy a home by the end of the year, and so December's their last month to do it. I don't know. I think it's probably because I'm just in the office and not taking a break. So there are fewer agents. There's more market share to get for me. So anyways, let's talk about Berkeley County. In January, we had 310 closings. In 2013, in January, we had 303 closings. So I'm sorry, let me back up. Those are new listings. Okay, sorry, not off to a good start. New listings in 2014 were 310 properties. 310 properties hit the market, 303 hit the market in 2013. So we had a few more hit the market in 2014, but we had 163 sales in January of 2014 versus 115 in 2013. That's a nice big jump. That's a 40% jump in sales. So we don't look at any one month to establish a trend in real estate. Of course, we need several months of consistent data over time to develop a trend. But so far, off to a great start. Let's hope that we can kind of keep pushing that along. I know that in 2013 versus 2012, prices were only up about 1.5% in Berkeley County, and the same thing in Dorchester County. So we've got some room to grow there, and I think new construction is what's going to help us get there. So nice jump in sales. The average sales price for those sales resulted in an 18.5% increase in pricing. So again, now that new construction properties are hitting the market, there's more demand, there's less inventory. That's naturally going to drive up the price, and it's going to create a better situation for Berkeley County. So any questions about that, call us 843-556-1250. That's the studio line, and I can go into greater detail. I can go to a specific neighborhood if you'd like and give you all the information you need. So let's go over to Charleston County. And again, we're talking about just the local real estate stats here in January 2014 versus January 2013, and that really is our only year-to-date statistic, but I can, of course, comment on 2013 versus 2012 as well to give you some perspective. So in 2014, January in Charleston County, we had quite a few less listings hit the market. In January, we had 573 new listings in Charleston County. If you look at 2013, they had 687 new listings. So it was about a 20% drop, close to a 20% drop in new listings, January over January. Interestingly, though, closed sales, we had last month 319 closed sales. If you look at 2013, we had 285 closed sales. So sales are up 12%. Then we look at price, of course. The average price for those 319 sales was $389,000. Look at 2013, and that was $368,000. That's about a 6% jump in pricing. I got to tell you, in Charleston County is kind of the leading indicator as far as market trends in our Tri-County area. Dorchester County and Berkeley County tend to lag in terms of numbers and price increases and volume reductions, sales increases, so on and so forth. So Charleston County right now, still a seller's market, quite a low amount of inventory across the board until you get into that $750,000 and above range. Markets like Isle of Palm, Sullivan's Island, Wild Dunes, those are still saturated markets. We still have quite a bit of inventory to choose from. So for those of you thinking of purchasing a second home or, buying a beach property as an investment property, still a good opportunity for you to buy something while the prices are low, while the rental income is still high, and of course interest rates are low, so that over time you can lock into that low cost of ownership and then hopefully watch that price appreciate. I never really quantify appreciation when I'm talking with clients. I don't want my clients to think that they're going to have some sort of guaranteed income or percentage return on their investment based on appreciation. That's purely speculative. I look at the rental income. So if they want to rent it out, we can go through, here's what you're going to rent it for. Here are all your expenses. Here's your taxes. Here's your insurance, so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, that's what you're left with. And if that fits your investment criteria, then go for it. If not, then don't. But anyways, that's what's going on in Charleston County. Dorchester County, we had a kind of a slow month in Dorchester County in terms of new listings. We only had 233 new listings hit the market in Dorchester County. In 2013, there were 285 listings, so that's about a 20% drop in new listings in Dorchester County in January. But sales were up. We had 124 new closings. In January of 2013, we only had 106, so that's about a 20% increase in closings. And then if you look at the median price that they're selling for, those 124 closings sold for $177,000 on average. Last year in January, it was only $150,000, so that's almost a 20% increase in pricing. And again, we're getting there because inventory is low, prices are starting to shoot up, new construction's finally starting to hit the market, it's starting to catch up with demand, and we're creating situations where buyers need to be more competitive with their offers. So again, I'm here, I'm live in the studio. If you have questions about any specific area, the number here, 843-556-1250. I tell you what, we're going to take another quick break. When I come back, I'll talk about some specific areas and then a few other things I picked up at that real estate convention. This is Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'll be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thank you for joining me this morning. We're about halfway through our show, and first two segments we talked about what's going on in the market overall. What's the trend right now? A lot of people, I think, are getting mixed information on the direction of our market locally and nationally. So I wanted to take you back, and I took you back as far as 1989 and kind of gave you an idea of what our real estate market should be doing, where we should be trending, what the norms are, what the historic norms are, and then what's happening now. And so if you missed that, I have the report printed off in PowerPoint slides. I am more than happy to email that over to you. So either give me a call or shoot me a text at 843-345-1273, 345-1273, and we can chat, and I'll give you the pieces of that report that you're interested in. Or you can just go to my website, www.listingsincharleston.com. As soon as you get on the site, a little icon will pop up that asks how I can help, and you can type me a little message right there. We can chat through text through my website, and I can send you that report. And of course, you can search the MLS, view current and sold listings. You can read some testimonials from past clients, and if you're interested in selling your home, you can click on the Sellers tab, and you'll get more information on my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. So I'm live in the studio. If you have any real estate related questions, anything at all, I'm here early in the morning. I want to take your calls. I want to make sure that if you're listening, if you have questions, they aren't left unanswered. So the phone number here in the studio is 843-556-1250. And I also have the MLS pulled up on my computer while talking to y'all. So if you have a specific question about a neighborhood or a price range or a point in time, let me know. I can shoot you those statistics immediately. So let me kind of get back into where we were going with this. I was at a real estate convention in Phoenix, Arizona over the past several days. And this is a convention that all Keller Williams real estate agents go to on an annual basis. It's called Family Reunion. There were about 14,000 of them at the Phoenix Convention Center for 5 days. And it was very eye-opening experience. You know, I said a little earlier in the show that I was humbled by it. It's not my first time going to one of these things. And I have to take it into perspective because Charleston, in and of itself, is not a huge metropolitan area. But I listened to some of these panel discussions from real estate agents that are selling 500, 600, 1,000, 1,500 homes a year, how they're doing it, how they're providing the very best service to their clients, how they're creating a team to make sure that every individual person on the team is so specialized that no matter what, you are getting top-level service. And as we were talking about that, as we were talking about the way to kind of run a team, I have a team in real estate here. So I have an assistant, I have 2 buyer agents, I have 2 showing assistants, and I have a closing coordinator, and I have an appointment setter. So I run a 7-person team, me included, and the reason I do that is so that I can really provide you, the client, with as much professionalism as possible. My day-to-day is highly specialized in that when people hire me to do a job, what they're hiring me for is to either sell them a home or to sell their home. And in order to do that, my time needs to be spent negotiating contracts and taking a look at the market, analyzing the market, figuring out how to navigate the market to your financial benefit for your success, getting you through the closing process smoothly, and then where necessary, having administrative staff take care of the little paperwork thing. So I wanted to share with you kind of a big picture really quickly, because I think there are mixed reviews on real estate agents that have teams. And there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. The right way to do it is to walk the walk. We'll just put it to you that simply, to walk the walk. When I sit down with a seller and I say, here is everything we're going to do to market your home, here's what's selling in your area, here's what I think we can sell it for in the amount of time that I think is reasonable, that's a great discussion, but you have to put that plan into action. You have to perform. The 4 things that I kind of live by in business are passion, integrity, customer service, and results. And it's really just that simple, quite honestly. So when you look at my team and you look at kind of how the division of labor is spread up, it's all done with the idea that we are all specializing in one individual area of our business. And so we started kind of getting off on this rant at Family Reunion, this real estate convention I was at, and a few things spun off from it that I thought were really interesting that I wanted to talk with you about. And before I get into that, again, I am live in the studio, so if you want to call, you want to talk anything real estate here in the Low Country, call in. The number is 843-556-1250. Again, this is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show, 556-1250 if you want to give us a call. So I was actually, I was honored to be on a panel discussion with these groups of agents. I was on a panel discussion with this 14,000 crowd of real estate agents to talk about how to effectively manage a real estate team so that the client is getting everything that they want and then some. They're actually getting 7 people working for them instead of one agent that runs around and puts the sign in the yard and takes the photos and does this, that, and the other. Again, my job is to negotiate contracts, find buyers and sellers for my buyers and sellers, be professional with them, navigate the market, and get you closed. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was professionalism. And that's kind of where I was headed with this. Websites like Zillow and Trulia.com are of the opinion now that my information, the information that I input into the MLS, is their information. And so what's happening is, all right, so let me kind of put this in perspective really quick, and I'll get to that. Zillow and other major websites are now of the opinion that they are more important than the real estate agent. And when they look ahead, as businesses at the opportunities that they have in front of them, those opportunities are vast. I mean, there's only one problem really with this is that, sorry, hold on. I think we might have someone coming in here. I don't want to get too far into what I'm talking about. But okay, here we go. Jerry, are you on the line?
Just had a question. I've heard about the investors buying up rental properties.
Yes.
If you have a rental property that's rented out and you sell it to these people, do they keep your tenants in, or are they just speculating with the property? Because if you have a good tenant, you don't want to just kick them out on the street by selling your rental property. Right.
So I'll answer that in kind of a few different ways. Number one, almost any property that looks as though it's a distressed property is getting a contract from these folks. I just listed a property in downtown Charleston on Addison Street that needed some work and received a contract from American Homes for Rent, which is one of those big conglomerates. But it was a vacant house, so they would have had to fix that up and then stick a tenant in there. So they're banking on the idea that they can buy it for a low enough price that there's instant equity, but that will also result in the return on investment they're looking for once they rent it. However, they are also looking at rented properties and assuming that they can purchase it at a price that it all makes sense. The return on that rental income is within their parameters, then they'll do that. But what they need to understand, and of course what you need to understand, is that tenants' rights apply. That lease stays with that property. It doesn't matter if that owner, if that property changes hands, the lease is still applicable. Unless, of course, you have verbiage in your lease that states that in the event you receive a contract to sell the property, you have 30 days to provide the tenant with notice. They have such and such a time to vacate. But to answer your question very simply, if you have a rented out property, that tenant's going to stay.
What's the price range that these investors are looking at?
It's across the board, but I think they like to stick in that $100,000 to $250,000 price range. It just seems easier to find tenants. You can, if you just look at the overall numbers, the cost associated with holding them is a little lower, so that makes the rental income a little bit higher. So right around in that price range.
Do they come in and lowball it, or they?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, thank you. I sure appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the call. Hey, Dave, you on the air?
Yes,
Are you online?
I am.
Dave, good to talk to you. Thanks for calling back.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I have a quick question. I have a property in Mount Pleasant, a home, and I just opened a new business a couple of years ago down here. My wife had to go back up to the north to work. So I'm kind of in a position where I want to sell my house in Mount Pleasant, possibly rent down here, or there's a new opportunity down in West Ashley where they're changing apartments over to condos. Pretty much all I need to do is put a small amount down, about $500.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if my business doesn't succeed down here, that long term, if I can rent it, the condo, and is it a good investment, or should I just be maybe looking for an apartment in between all of this?
So your question is, if you end up purchasing that condo in Mount Pleasant, is it going to be a worthwhile investment over time to rent it out?
In case my business doesn't succeed and I go back up with my wife where she is right now.
Okay. Well, really, to answer that question, I'd have to look at what they're renting for, what your cost of ownership would be, and then figure out if you're going to actually make money on that on a monthly basis or not. So that kind of requires me looking at all the factors. I want to know what your rental income is, what your mortgage payment is, what your taxes are, what your insurance is, and we can go through all that. So I tell you what, if you want to get back on the line with John, he'll jot down your contact information, and I'll give you that Excel spreadsheet that I use to analyze properties when I invest in real estate and when I work with investors to purchase real estate. So kind of a detailed question, but I can certainly answer that for you if you give us a few more minutes, and I can actually call you in about 15 once we're off air.
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, it is a little detailed. It's a little involved, but yes, I appreciate that so much.
All right, very good. Well, thanks a lot, Dave. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm live in the studio. We have a few minutes left, so if you have a question for me, anything real estate related at all, we just had some great questions. The number in the studio is 843-556-1250. And if you just don't have time to call in the next 5 minutes or so, you can visit my website, www.listingsincharleston.com, and send me a private message there. search the MLS, view what I have currently listed, what I've sold, read testimonials, and of course, if you're interested in selling your home, you can go to the Sellers tab and you can read more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. Or you can just call me, 843-345-1273. Sorry for giving you all this contact information. But again, if you want to call into the office, 556-1250, we'll field the call and see if we can help you out. So I want to leave you with something in the event we don't give or get a call. And that's just a little thought-provoking discussion here. I had said last segment that Zillow and other major websites are now of the opinion that, quite frankly, they are more important than the real estate agent. And really, there's only one problem with the approach that they're using, and that is that the information that they are relying on, the information that they give the consumer, is information that real estate agents input into the system. So they're of the opinion that the information that I input, based on my hard work and my time and my consultation with the owner, is now theirs to share, and that they have a right to it. And really, real estate is the only industry right now where that seems to be the case. Correct me if I'm wrong, but frankly, I have a problem with that. I want to be a leader in technology in my industry and in my market, but really, I have a problem when a company proactively tries to create change in an industry that can also hurt it. And what I don't want is for a buyer or a seller to say to me, Brian, I don't need your services because I have Zillow or I have Trulia or whatever. I already have all the information I need. Well, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Websites like Zillow and Trulia did not create more buyers and sellers. All they did was change the way people search for a home. And there is absolutely no statistical data available that shows that these homes sell for more money or in less time by using these websites. So let me tell you what is trending right now. What they want to do is they want to start ranking real estate agents by number of transactions. You know what? We've got a call coming in, and I think I'm going to save that for another time because we only have a few minutes here. Jane, are you on the line?
I am.
Hey, Jane. Nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. I have a quick question. I heard you talk about Trulia and Zillow.
Mm-hmm.
And a quick question. How close do you think their estimates are when they are quoting values of your home?
You know what?
Particularly when they don't have any detail on it.
So, yeah, I want to dive into that because this is a great question. I actually covered this my last show. So the Zillow estimate has a 30% variance on the actual value of your home. That's what they say, and that's on their website if you go. And they'll show you, or they'll dive into how they calculate the value of that property. Mm-hmm. But a few things to note. Number one, it's all based on the information that the real estate agent or the homeowner has input into those websites. Mm-hmm. So if the information's wrong, then the valuation's going to be wrong.
Right.
Secondly, and more importantly, they cannot assess condition or upgrades. They have no idea what your home looks like on the inside, and they have no idea what you've done in terms of upgrades to your home, further skewing that number.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was wondering about.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
So
because there's absolutely nothing on the description. I did look my home up,
mm-hmm.
and I thought the same thing. How in the world would they know?
Right. Yeah, it's all based on the information that they have available to them. So I know that that's a short and sweet answer to your question, but unfortunately we're out of time. So Jane, thank you very much for the call.
You answered it, and I agree with you.
All right, thank you very much. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. We will be back next week, and this show will air Sunday at 10 a.m. on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning from 8 till 9. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.